Well, with this Christmas again set to be dominated by COVID, the Prime Minister has briefed ministers about the Omicron variant, saying it appears to be more transmissible than Delta. According to latest figures, the UK has reported its highest weekly number of new COVID cases since January. But number 10 said there was still no plan to impose more restrictions in England. Scientists are racing to try and find answers to all the key questions about Omicron and how serious its impact could be on hospitals and vaccinations. Here's our health and social care editor, Victoria MacDonald.
Opening a window onto Omicron. Each machine, each worker searching for COVID-19 and now specifically looking for the latest mutation. 90% of the UK's genomic sequencing happens here at the Wellcome Sanger Institute in Cambridgeshire. The data is feeding into the rapid and urgent detection of the spread of Omicron.
Ultimately, it does look like that the Omicron variant is more transmissible. Why that is, we will discover in the next few weeks, I think. Obviously now it's in the UK and in other parts of the world. Again, there's different immunology of the population, so high levels of vaccination, etc. Boosters, we'll see the potential impact of that.
It's estimated that it is doubling every 2 to 2.5 days. And while 437 cases have now been detected in the UK, it is believed the numbers are significantly higher. Some experts suggest it will overtake Delta as the dominant variant within a matter of weeks.
Of course, what we all want to know is how much Omicron is out there. But in this lab, they can also look at finer detail. They can say, these 5 cases are linked. They can say they were in a restaurant, so they can tell the public health officials. And on an even finer level, they can also monitor the antiviral drugs that are being rolled out. They can check that they're working and, crucially, monitor that they are continuing to work.
On the eve of the anniversary of the first COVID vaccine administered in the UK, the battle against the virus very much continues, with data showing the highest weekly number of cases since January. Scotland's First Minister has now extended the work from home guidance. Downing Street, though, says this is not on the agenda for England. From this morning, all travellers have to take a pre-departure test before heading here. But the row continues over the number of African countries placed on the red list, with the Archbishop of Canterbury today calling it travel apartheid, backed by one of South Africa's leading epidemiologists.
Travel bans are just outrageous, especially because it now becomes very clear that they are also racially motivated, because the virus is now spreading unrelated to travel in many countries, including the UK, including the USA. So if the UK was serious about using travel bans to stop the virus, they would ban travel from something like about 45 countries right now.
More data is expected from South Africa tomorrow, although figures currently show that their infection levels with COVID-19, while rising, are still below their June and July wave.
Well, after almost 2 years of constant challenges for the beleaguered hospitality industry, the Omicron variant has dealt another blow to what was meant to be a lucrative Christmas party season. Fears about the spread of the virus have already led to cancellations, while figures show restaurant bookings have also slumped over the last week. Jane Dodge reports.
Newcastle has got its Christmas market back. It was cancelled last year because of COVID. News of a new variant doesn't seem to have deterred shoppers, although some say they have made changes to reduce the risk of infection.
Probably just staying in the house a little bit more, not going out as much and stuff.
What about meeting up with elderly relatives? Any changes on that front?
Nah, I'll have to go and see me nana, won't I? Can I not go and see her?
For George Bell, a family gathering on Christmas Day is sacrosanct, so he's willing to sacrifice other festive treats to ensure that still happens.
We would normally go out for a family meal at Christmas in a restaurant. We take the whole family out and treat them, but this year we're going to wait until the new year.
And why?
Just to see how things settle. We normally go to the theatre to see the pantomime. Again, we treat the family, but this year we've decided just to give that a miss because there's still restrictions on in the theatre.
At Tyneside Cinema, life is really imitating art. In the last week, 5 groups, including schools, have cancelled large bookings. All of them cited concerns about the new Omicron variant.
We're talking to the tune of thousands of pounds, and such a prominent, a golden time of year for us to try and capitalise on an audience that want to engage with cinema and what we have to offer. And we're kind of robbed of that opportunity to a degree.
Are there longer term implications here for the future of the cinema?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a possibility that, you know, with this new variant, more complexity into people's behaviours. You know, it's difficult for us to predict what's going to happen. We are a charity, you know, so we rely on this time of year to really boost us for the year to come.
And what about that great Christmas tradition, the office party?
We've been told we have to wear masks again in shops and on public transport, but not in places like this, pubs and restaurants. And the government has said Christmas parties should still go ahead. But the trade organisation UK Hospitality says 10% of Christmas bookings have already been cancelled this month.
That's bad news for an industry trying to recoup some of its lockdown losses. Ollie Volkard owns 20 bars and restaurants across the northeast. He's philosophical about his cancelled bookings, but worried about any prospect of another lockdown.
I would be stupid not to have sleepless nights over it. But I don't let it focus my days. I mean, we are, you know, as I say, we've got 20 venues here. We've got 450 staff running around. We've got a lot going on.
And a lot at risk.
Yeah, and I'm focusing on the positives and the people and the employment and the growth and Christmas parties and happy people. And if a government agency or a large accountancy firm does run a Christmas party, fine.
But businesses big and small will be hoping the run-up to Christmas will be the much-needed sweetener to the long and bitter pill of the pandemic.
Well, Kate Nichols from UK Hospitality joins us now. Kate Nichols, we saw a little bit of distress there. I mean, how much business are your members really losing at this time?
Well, we did see some cancellations come through the early part of last week. That has now eased off slightly, but we have seen 10% reduction in Christmas bookings over the December period, and a small downturn in town and city centre visits and footfall over the course of the last week. But we are seeing that stabilise now, and we are seeing an uptick in demand for smaller scale bookings and social events.
But if the government decides that matters are getting very serious, can the hospitality industry really cope with another lockdown?
Put simply, no. I mean, if we were to move towards another lockdown or economic restrictions, I think, as the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary said last week when they were announcing some of the small, pragmatic, balanced changes that have been made, that they recognised there was an economic cost to lockdown, and that does hit hospitality businesses disproportionately. So after 22 months of below profitability trading, those businesses that have survived COVID would simply not be able to survive a further lockdown, severe restrictions if we were to return to work from home or a lockdown in full. And let's not forget that this time last year, when we were going into restrictions, businesses had a full suite of government support available to them, from full furlough, closure grants, full business rates relief and VAT at 5%. We don't have that support package available now, so it would have a more significant impact on business viability going forward if we saw any downturn as a result of significant restrictions.
Have you set those needs out to government? I mean, you're making very clear what the hospitality industry needs, but is government listening, and have you enabled them to learn?
We are working closely with government. We do have a number of sector councils and pieces where we are able to engage with ministers on a regular basis, and we do keep government informed in real time about the impact that any announcement of restrictions or the uncertainty that is caused by speculation about restrictions, and often it is the speculation that causes greater uncertainty for businesses and for consumers and causes a chilling effect on consumer confidence. We do keep ministers informed about that. We have been reassured to hear from the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary that they recognise the investment the hospitality industry has made in ventilation, hygiene and sanitation. Those are the principal measures that keep our customers and our teams safe, that allow us to continue trading at the moment as we are, and that SAGE itself has recognised mean that we are a safe place to socialise in than at home. So we continue to offer a safe space for people to meet together with family and friends, and we hope that that will be allowed to continue.
Has the tricky question of financial support been broached with ministers?
Not at the moment, because obviously at the moment ministers are saying that they see no need for further restrictions. We would look to have those discussions with ministers should there be further restrictions imposed.
Kate Nichols, thank you very much indeed for joining us.